Today we're using what I believe is the biggest medium format film camera ever produced. This is the Fuji Gx680iii, a very electronic, massive medium format camera that shoots 6x8, which gives you 9 images instead of the 10 that 6x7 gives you. It just uses a little bit more of your film per shot. This camera makes my Mamiya RB67, which is usually a huge camera, look tiny by comparison. And it has this beautiful long bellows, which allows you to do tilt shift effects to your images, which is not super common on medium format cameras. It's got an 80mm 5.6 lens that stops all the way down to f/45, which I assume, since this camera is such a large, heavy studio camera, was mainly used for strobes. Today I'm in the studio with my friends Malik and Jabari. They are twins, and we're gonna try to make some beautiful portraits with this camera while using the tilt shift bellows included in this camera to try to get some cool results, maybe trying to get both of them in focus while they stay in vast difference apart from each other. We will see. For our first look, I used my Aperture 300C to light the room blue, and I made some very color balanced white spotlights with the projector and Photoshop. So if I want to get them both in focus, I want to say I need to tilt from the center, pull down to the, yeah, okay. Whoa, is that working? That's crazy. Thanks for the patience, guys. This is definitely not a fast camera by any means. I think I got it. Kind of looks like they're both in focus. What if you turn your chest that way, towards that wall, like that? A little light meter app. Let's see, 400 speed. At 5.6 is 1/10 of a second. We're literally gonna be shooting at 1/10 of a second. All right, shot number 1, y'all ready? 3, okay, there it was. Did either of you blink? All right. The first image is a good example of what a tilt shift effect can do, but I don't think it's an amazing portrait. You can see in the foreground Malik's hair is in focus, but the front of his face is not. And then in the background, Jabari is in focus, even though they're super far apart. This is such a cool part of the tilt shift effect. We're using a 180mm lens at 5.6. If we weren't using the tilt shift bellows and angling the lens the way we are, Malik would be completely out of focus. Oh yeah, dude. Oh, the spotlight's like perfect behind your head right now. Sick. I'm gonna need to shoot this on the 6.7 too. Spotlight hitting your face. Let me duplicate this real quick. Spotlight hitting you. I just like, the biggest thing is I can't really tell if it's in focus. All right, 3, 2, 1. Gorgeous. For this next photo, I had them both sit down, and to be honest, I just didn't nail the focus, and I might have been a little bit heavy on the trigger because this is slightly shaky. When I'm using a new camera like this for the first time, I have no idea how much pressure I can put on the trigger while shooting at a low shutter speed, like a 1/15 of a second, like I was doing here. This camera's pretty heavy duty, and the mirror is already vibrating a lot when you take a photo, so the additional push down of my finger on the trigger probably did shake up the image quite a bit. This is why it's such a good idea to use a shutter release cable like I use with my Mamiya RB67 all the time. It eliminates you touching the camera at all, and instead you're just pressing a little remote that fires the shutter for you. Luckily, as the shoot goes on, I put a lot less pressure on the camera as I kind of unconsciously learn what its limits are. Let me shoot this on a real camera. That was some serious shade. Yep, that's cool as fuck. You look at me, and then you can, yeah, perfect. 3, 2, 1. Shooting that frame again, and don't blink. Yeah, both of you guys look at me for this one. And what if you bring that arm, like keep it up, just rotate your hand so it's, yeah, like that. Actually, I'm gonna bring this light down onto your eyes a little bit more. All right, let's go. There it is, 2, 1. Gorgeous. Whew. These photos I shot on my Pentax 6.7 are pretty cool. They're nothing crazy, but to be honest, I get pretty anxious shooting with just a new camera. What if they aren't turning out? What if I'm getting a bunch of blank shots? I wouldn't want Malik and Jabari to come through to the studio and spend a bunch of time here and not go home with any photos at all. So sometimes I just double up on a camera that I can trust when I'm unsure if I'm even using a new camera right. Our second look, I lit my Aperture 300C red, and I made this sort of blue and then warm yellow circle pattern in Photoshop and projected it onto their face. I blurred it out a little bit with the projector lens. It creates this really cool look because the yellow light on their faces is exposed properly and the blue is just slightly underexposed, but it creates this really beautiful, almost painterly blue on their faces. That looks so dope. Keep looking forward like that. Let me just see how that looks. 2.8 at an 80th, well, we're shooting at 5.6. 5.6 at a 20th, okay? That looks really nice. 2, 1. gorgeous. This first image, I was a little heavy-handed again, and the image is just a little shaky, but it's a good start. I don't love that you can see the circle in the background on the wall. So readjusting from there and just being a little lighter with my trigger finger is gonna make a huge difference. I'm gonna move this way a little bit, and then I just want you to look over at me. Bro, that looks like a fucking album cover. That is wild. Oh my God. But look up at me for like, yeah, right there, just right there. That's great. Just hold that same pose right there. 2, 1. Oh, such a good last shot. All right, let me shoot this frame here. All right, so you are in focus. Let me see if I can tilt this and get you in focus too. Bro, how is that possible? How did I just do that? All right, 3, 2, 1. Now the second image on this setup is a perfect example of the tilt shift working flawlessly. You see the focus land on their eyes and then fall off on the back of their heads, and that's just really cool since they're pretty far distance from each other. Now I shot the same scene with my Pentax 6.7, so you can kind of get a good example of what a camera shooting the same scene with no tilt shift bellows looks like. Obviously I'm shooting at like 2.8, and you see the subject in the foreground is in focus while in the background completely blurred out. Personally, I think it's pretty cool to be able to see the difference there. And let me just rotate it. Oh, that's great. Posing is still immaculate. I'm gonna back it up a little bit and shoot the same one again. Whoa, bro. I mean, it just literally looks like magic. I can't believe what I'm looking at right now. Yeah, just like that. That's great. And yeah, find right in the lens if you can. 2, 1. Thank you for standing so still. We're literally shooting at a 15th of a second. That's so slow. Try to focus mainly on you and then back focus onto you, or front focus onto you. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Actually, let's have you guys switch. Dude, honestly, that's so nice. That's great. Just both of you guys look at the lens. 3, 2, 1. That shit's gonna be perfect. Low key, I think. 1/8 of a second is pretty low, but it's on a tripod, so right? I love how all of these images with the red background turned out, but now it was time for us to go to our next look, which is just a simple white background lit by the 300C and a red light being projected from the projector onto their faces. Let me try to tilt it up this time. So now, the bottom of your face is out of focus, but the top, like your eyes, is in focus. 3, 2, 1, got it. Bro. For this image, I focused directly on his eyes, and you see at his hairline it's out of focus, and at his nose and down to his mouth it's also out of focus. It's a very minute detail, but it's really beautiful when you notice it. Going forward with the tilt shift bellows, I racked the focus to hit both of their faces with this red light, regardless of how far away they were standing from each other, and all of these images, I think, turned out so nice. Our last look, I turned off the red projector light and I just had them stand in front of the 300C with the softbox on it. This is a super simple one light setup, but honestly, I think that the soft light created from this massive softbox almost looks somewhat strobe-like. You're more than welcome to disagree with me on that if you'd like, but I think it looks nice. All of these images just lit by the 300C with the softbox turned out really nice. I mean, they're not my most creative images by any means, but I don't mean to sound like a broken record again, but using the bellows tilt shift function was a really nice, subtle addition to these very clean, basic portraits. I honestly really like these ones. This was a really fun little test shoot. I wish I had a little bit more time with the Fuji Gx680iii. Thank you so much to my homie Arvin over at Cinestill for letting me borrow this massive camera. But I think between our 4 lighting setups, we got some really awesome results. Like, you can find a tilt shift bellows on almost every single 4x5 large format camera out there. But when it comes to medium format, I would say a tilt shift bellows is much harder to come by, much less common, but they are just as much fun to use if you get your hands on a camera with one. This was such a fun shoot. I love all of these photos so much. My favorite ones are absolutely the ones with the red background and the blue and yellow light on Malik and Jabari's faces. Up in second is the look with the white background and the red on their faces. These turned out so fun. This is such a fun little test. Anyway, let me know what your favorite photo from this shoot was, and if you've ever used this camera before, because this thing is absolutely massive and such a special piece of technology. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Linus if you're new here, and I will see you guys next week. Peace.